I discovered my fiancé's affair just 2 days before our wedding, so I cancelled everything and exposed the truth to everyone. Hi everyone, I'm Mia, a 28-year-old woman from Seattle, and I'm still reeling from what happened just a few days ago. I never thought I'd be writing one of these posts, but here I am, trying to make sense of the chaos my life has become. I guess I should start from the beginning. I met Jake 3 years ago at a mutual friend's birthday celebration. We hit it off immediately, bonding over our shared love of alternative music and classic fantasy novels. Within a few months, we were inseparable. Jake was everything I had ever wanted in a partner: intelligent, funny, and genuinely kind, or so I thought. Our relationship progressed quickly. We moved in together after a year, adopted a rescue cat named Whiskers, and started discussing our future. Last year, on our second anniversary, I proposed to Jake. He said yes, and we began planning our dream wedding. Everything seemed perfect. Our families were thrilled, our friends were excited, and we were on cloud nine. We spent months planning every detail, from the venue, a stunning garden just outside the city, to the menu featuring our favorite dishes. Jake's parents, Mark and Sarah, were incredibly supportive both emotionally and financially, insisting on covering most of the wedding costs as their gift to us. My parents, Lisa and Tom, were equally enthusiastic, throwing us an engagement party and helping with the planning process. Our families got along well, which made everything even better. It felt like the stars had aligned, and I was about to start the next chapter of my life with a man I loved. The wedding was set for last Saturday, with about 60 guests confirmed, including family and friends from all over the country. Some had already flown in and were staying at nearby hotels. The rehearsal dinner was scheduled for Friday night, and everyone was looking forward to the big day. Then, last Thursday, just 2 days before the wedding, my world came crashing down. I had taken the day off work to handle some last-minute wedding details. Jake was supposed to be at his final suit fitting with his dad and groomsmen. I was at home double-checking our honeymoon reservations when I received a text from my best friend and maid of honor, Chloe. The message simply read, "Call ASAP. It's important." Confused and a bit worried, I called Chloe immediately. What she told me next felt like a punch to the gut. Chloe works at a marketing firm downtown, and she had just seen Jake entering a nearby hotel with another woman. She said they were holding hands and acting very intimate. At first, I couldn't believe it. I trusted Jake completely. There had to be some explanation, right? Maybe it was a relative in town for the wedding or a friend he was meeting for lunch. But as Chloe described the scene in more detail, my heart sank. She said Jake and this woman had kissed before entering the hotel, and it definitely wasn't a platonic kiss. I felt sick to my stomach, my mind racing to make sense of what I had just heard. I thanked Chloe for telling me and hung up. For a few minutes, I just sat there, stunned. Then, almost on autopilot, I grabbed my keys and drove to the hotel Chloe had mentioned. I parked across the street and waited. After what felt like hours, but was probably only about 45 minutes, I saw them exit the hotel. Jake, my fiancé, the man I was supposed to marry in 2 days, was arm in arm with a tall, blonde woman I had never seen before. They were laughing and looked completely at ease with each other as they walked down the street. I saw Jake lean down and kiss her. It wasn't a quick peck, it was a deep, passionate kiss that left no doubt about the nature of their relationship. I felt like I was watching a nightmare unfold in front of me. I don't remember driving home. I must have, because the next thing I knew, I was sitting on our couch, staring at the wall. Whiskers, our cat, sensed something was wrong and kept nudging my hand, meowing softly. I couldn't even bring myself to pet her. Jake came home a few hours later, acting as if nothing was wrong. He kissed me on the cheek and started chattering about his day, talking about the suit fitting and how excited he was for the wedding. I couldn't believe how easily he was lying to my face. I waited until he finished talking, then I simply asked, "Who is she?" The color drained from Jake's face. He tried to play dumb at first, asking what I meant, but I told him everything about Chloe's call, about seeing him at the hotel. I asked him how long it had been going on and how he could do this to me, to us, just days before our wedding. Jake broke down crying, begging me as I navigate through one of the toughest periods of my life. I promised an update, so here goes. First off, I want to address something many of you pointed out in the comments. You're right, I acted impulsively when I sent that mass message exposing Jake's infidelity. In the heat of the moment, it felt justified, but looking back, I realize it wasn't the most mature way to handle things. I've had time to reflect on this, and I acknowledge that my actions, while understandable, weren't entirely right. Now, let me catch you up on what's been going on since then. The immediate aftermath of canceling the wedding was chaotic, to say the least. My phone was blowing up with messages and calls from friends, family, and even some of Jake's relatives. It was overwhelming, and I ended up turning off my phone for a few days just to get some peace. My parents have been incredibly supportive, letting me stay with them and helping me deal with the practical aspects of unraveling a life I thought I was going to share with Jake. My dad has been making all my favorite meals, and my mom has been taking me hiking on weekends. Simple things, but they mean the world to me right now. Whiskers, my cat, has been a huge comfort too. There's something therapeutic about having a furry friend who loves you unconditionally. She's been sticking to me like glue, almost as if she can sense that I need the extra support. The situation with Jake's family has been complicated. Jake's parents were understandably upset when I first told them about his infidelity. They were shocked and embarrassed, especially since they had invested so much emotionally and financially in the wedding. At first, they were calling and texting constantly, alternating between apologizing to me and defending Jake. They insisted that his actions were out of character and begged me to reconsider, to give him another chance. But I knew in my heart that the trust was broken beyond repair. The financial aspect of canceling the wedding has been a nightmare. As I mentioned before, many things were non-refundable at that point. The Millers initially threatened legal action to recoup their expenses, which added another layer of stress to an already tense situation. After a week of back and forth through emails and phone calls, we finally agreed to sit down and talk things through like adults. It was a difficult meeting, to say the least. We met at a neutral location, a quiet cafe downtown, to discuss how to handle the financial fallout. Jake's parents were visibly uncomfortable, and honestly, so was I. We spent hours going over the expenses, trying to figure out what could be refunded and what couldn't. In the end, we came to a compromise. I agreed to cover the costs of anything that was specifically for me, my wedding dress, the bridesmaid's attire, and a few other smaller items. The Millers would handle the costs related to Jake and anything that was jointly planned, like the venue and catering. It wasn't a perfect solution, and I could tell they weren't entirely happy with it, but given the circumstances, it seemed like the fairest way to handle things. We all left that meeting feeling drained but with a sense that at least this part of the mess was somewhat resolved. As for Jake, well, that's been the hardest part of all this. Despite my initial anger and the hurt of his betrayal, a small part of me still cared for him. 4 years of love and shared experiences don't just disappear overnight, no matter how much you might want them to. Jake has tried to contact me numerous times since that day. At first, I ignored all his calls and messages. I needed time and space to process everything. But after about 2 weeks, I finally agreed to meet with him. I felt I owed it to myself and to the relationship we once had to hear him out. We met at a park near our old apartment. It was a sunny day, but the atmosphere between us was anything but bright. Jake looked terrible, puffy eyes, messy hair, nothing like the put-together man I used to know. As soon as he saw me, he burst into tears. Jake poured out apologies, explanations, and pleas for forgiveness. He told me more about Jackie, the ex-girlfriend he had cheated with. Apparently, they had reconnected at a conference a few months before the wedding. One thing led to another, and before he knew it, he was caught up in an affair. He swore it was just a physical thing and that he had never stopped loving me. He said he had ended things with Jackie as soon as I found out and that he realized what a huge mistake he had made. Jake begged me to reconsider, to give him another chance. He said we could postpone the wedding, go to couples therapy, anything to save our relationship. I listened to everything he had to say, and I'd be lying if I said it didn't affect me. Seeing him so broken, hearing the pain in his voice, now I've started looking for a new apartment, but I'm not rushing into anything. Being around family has been comforting, and I'm grateful for the stability it provides while I figure out my next steps. The situation with Jake's friends and some of our mutual acquaintances remains tense. A few of Jake's closest friends are still angry with me for the way I exposed his infidelity. They've sent some nasty messages accusing me of humiliating him unnecessarily. While I understand their loyalty to him, it still stings to be painted as the bad guy by people I once considered friends. On the flip side, many of our mutual friends have reached out to express their support for me. Some have shared that they're no longer in contact with Jake, feeling that his actions were a betrayal not just of me but of all the people who cared about us as a couple. It's bittersweet. I appreciate their support, but I hate that this situation has caused rifts in so many relationships. One of the hardest parts of all this has been dealing with the aftermath of the cancelled wedding. There were so many little details that I never even considered until I had to start undoing them all: returning wedding gifts, canceling honeymoon reservations, updating all the people who weren't on the main guest list but still knew about the wedding, vendors, coworkers, distant relatives. But slowly, surely, I'm starting to see a future beyond this pain. I've started setting new goals for myself, both personally and professionally. I'm considering taking some classes to further my career, something I had put on hold while focusing on wedding planning. I've also been thinking about doing some traveling on my own, maybe taking that trip to Europe I've always dreamed about. As for the question of whether I was the bad guy for exposing Jake's infidelity and canceling the wedding, well, I've had a lot of time to think about that. The overwhelming consensus from my original post was that I wasn't the bad guy for canceling the wedding. That part I'm sure about. I couldn't have gone through with marrying someone who had betrayed my trust so completely. The exposure part is trickier. Many of you pointed out that while my anger was justified, sending that mass message was an impulsive and potentially hurtful action. After a lot of reflection, I tend to agree. In an ideal world, I would have taken some time to cool down and then found a more measured way to inform people about the cancelled wedding. That said, I don't think I can fully regret my actions. In that moment, angry from the shock and pain of betrayal, I acted on raw emotion. It wasn't perfect, but it was human. I'm learning to forgive myself for not handling everything flawlessly in a situation I never expected to be in. So where do I go from here? Honestly, I'm still figuring that out, but for the first time since this all happened, I'm starting to feel hopeful about the future. I'm not ready to think about dating again, not by a long shot. Right now, I'm focused on rebuilding my life on my own terms. To those of you who offered advice and support on my original post, thank you. Your words meant more than you know. To anyone out there going through something similar, hang in there, it gets better. It's not easy, and it's not quick, but it does get better. And to Jake, if by some chance you're reading this, I meant what I said, I hope you find happiness. I hope we both learn and grow from this experience, but I also hope you understand that our chapter together is closed for good. Thank you all for listening, for caring, and for being a part of this journey with me. Your support has meant the world. Here's to new beginnings, to healing, and to whatever the future may hold. Now, on to the next story. Story 2, I broke up with my boyfriend 15 years ago because I didn't want kids. Now I'm back in his town, missing him like crazy. I've been tearing myself apart just thinking about him and how things ended. I can't stop, no matter how much I try.